Reverend?
The shepherd must tend his flock, and at times fight off the wolves.
I've been saying, in light of what you just went through in the first half hour there, I said many years ago when this whole thing broke that, this goes right back to 2008, right, when we first started talking about this, 5 years ago now.
Yeah.
And in fact, even goes back to Hillary. Hillary was the first birther, and I know you mentioned that in the first half hour.
And Mike, and you remember, Mike, I heard her with my own, I saw her with my own eyes. I was in a motel in South Florida getting ready to do a conference when she announced I was watching Fox News. I guess she was doing it on all the channels, but she said, I have information that is going to sink the Obama campaign I'm going to release in the next 4 days. You remember that, Mike?
Sure I do. Yeah. Well, listen, when I got on board with all this, people started labeling me with the conspiracy theorist moniker too, right?
Oh yeah.
And and so what it all boiled down to for me was that a conspiracy theorist is what all good investigative journalists are.
Yeah,
and what all good police investigators are conspiracy theorists.
That's correct.
Right, and then as soon as any evidence is introduced, it becomes a conspiracy possibility, right?
Right.
We've gone through this before, but apparently we need to go through this again, Mr. Gallops.
I think we do.
Because as soon as the evidence becomes overwhelming, it becomes a conspiracy probability. So it goes from conspiracy theory to conspiracy possibility to conspiracy probability.
Right.
And then when there's enough evidence to convict, it becomes a conspiracy fact.
Right.
It just becomes a known conspiracy, and enough evidence has been collected, and that's what we see. That's what we see the heroes in America, and there are very few of them today. Zulo and others, yourself and Arpaio. The real investigators, the real journalists, the real cops, America's cops. And Arpaio has been likened to America's sheriff. And what I said, I told people, I said. I talk to people about this in private in my travels, and they say, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist." I say, "Well, listen, the United States was founded on a giant conspiracy."
Yeah.
Now, and I say, imagine. Now, I'm going someplace with this, so just track with me here.
Okay.
Imagine some British merchants. They're traveling to the Americas to do business, and they frequent the taverns in the U.S. on the East Coast, and they're frequenting the bars and they're frequenting the brothels or whatever they do, and they're just hanging out with the common people, and they've got their ear to the pavement, listening to what's happening, and then one of them goes back to Britain and says to his pal, who's never been to the Americas, he says, "Look, I just came back from the Americas." And it seems to me that there are plans to overthrow the king in the Americas.
Right. Yeah, those peon colonists are going to overthrow Great Britain's king.
Yeah. What I'm about to share with you is quite interesting, though, because I've been using that example for a long time, and then the pal, the friend goes, "Oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. That's not happening in the Americas. The Americas, they're under our thumb." Right? I mean, that's not going to happen. Well, check this out. This morning I was listening to a show in Toronto, and there was a comedian on from England. And you know yourself that in all the best humor there is an element of truth.
That's correct.
And this guy had a raw British accent, and he was going through his repertoire of jokes, and he was funny. And then he gets to this one. He says, "You know how the British Empire was overthrown?" And then my ears perked up, right? He says, "This is how the British Empire was overthrown," he says. "There was an awful lot of this going on," he says. And this guy is admitting something about his own country, right? He said, "This is how the British Empire was overthrown." He says, "There was a lot of this going on." "No, you don't say. No. Are you sure? Are you sure? No, that can't be. No. Are you sure? Are you sure?" And he goes on for 10 minutes like this, right?
Right.
I mean, that was the attitude at the time. Was a bumbling conversation all the time, never doing anything to confirm it, never doing anything about it.
Right.
Just conversing it over and over and over and arguing back and forth, and really, that can't be, are you sure? That can't be, are you sure? And he was making light of it. But essentially, that's what we have going on in America today. Right. Is this conversation, are you sure? I mean, you were interviewed in an article for the ppsimmons blog in which you detailed exactly what you just detailed in your first half hour.
Right.
And our blog moderator has I talked to him about 15 minutes ago, and he says, like, you won't believe the comments in the comment section on this thing. It's what we see going on in America today, in so much as there's a conspiracy to overthrow the country, right?
Right.
There's a conspiracy to overthrow the country. Now, this bloke has come back to America and said, look, listen, there's a conspiracy to overthrow America. I've heard it. I know it's happening. And people are going, really? You don't say. Well, what about this? I don't believe it. Really? Oh, you got to be kidding me. Really? No, that can't be happening. Really? Oh, well, we need to look deeper into this. No, really, that can't be happening, you know?
Right.
And so that's what we have happening in America today. And, I mean, all you got to do is look at the comment sections in some of our blog articles where we talk about this. People are like, well, this can't be true. You know, I can still buy beer.
Right. I mean, the NFL is playing this weekend. I mean,
yeah.
You know, this can't be true. Yeah, bunch of conspiracy theorists. No, you're absolutely right about the colonies. That's exactly what was going on. And then if somebody said, "Well, I've got inside information on it," oh, you're just a conspiracy theorist. You're a nut. There's no way a bunch of colonists with pitchforks and muskets can overthrow the empire of Great Britain.
That man insults me.
Quite impressive for a farmer with a pitchfork, wouldn't you say?